Chapter 2, House and Universe. There's a French in the beginning. I'll try and say the French, but the translation is what matters right now. Quand les guillemets de notre ciel se rejoindront, mais sans aura en toi, comes from Paul Eluard, and it means, when the peaks of our sky come together, my house will have a roof. In the preceding chapter, I pointed out that it was reasonable to say we read a house or read a room, since both room and house are psychological diagrams that guide writers and poets in their analysis of intimacy. We shall now read it slowly over several houses and rooms written by great writers. Part 1. Although at heart a city man, Baudelaire sensed the increased intimacy of a house when it is besieged by winter. In Les Paradis Artificiels, page 280, he speaks of Thomas de Quincey's joy when, a prisoner of war, he read Kant with the help of the idealism furnished by opium. The scene takes place in a cottage in Wales. I'll just be reading the translation because it's longer French passage. Isn't it true that a pleasant house makes winter more poetic? And doesn't winter add to the poetry of a house? The white cottage stands at the end of a little valley, shut in by rather high mountains, and it seemed to be swathed in shrubs. I have underlined the words in this short sentence that belong to the imagination of repose. And what a quiet setting for an opium eater reading Kant in the combined solitudes of dream and thought. As for the passage Baudelaire devoted to it, no doubt we can read it the way we can read any easy, too easy passage. A literary critic might even be surprised by the naturalness with which this great poet has used commonplace images. But if, while reading this oversimplified passage, we accept the daydreams of repose it suggests, if we pause over the underlined words being little valley, shut in, rather high mountains, swathed in shrubs. If we pause over the underlined words, it soon brings tranquility to body and soul. We feel that we are living in the protective center of the house in the valley. We too are swathed in the blanket of winter. And we feel warm because it is cold out of doors. Further on in this deep winter, artificial paradise, Baudelaire declares that dreamers like a severe winter. Quote, every year they ask the sky to send down as much snow, hail, and frost as it can contain. What they really need are Canadian or Russian winters. Their own nests will be all the warmer, all the downier, all the better beloved. End quote. Like Edgar Allan Poe, a great dreamer of curtains, Baudelaire, in order to protect the winter-girt house from cold, added heavy draperies that hung down to the floor. Behind dark curtains, snow seems to be whiter. I love that. Behind dark curtains, snow seems to be whiter. Indeed, everything comes alive when contradictions accumulate, like snow. Hold on, I'm going to underline these passages. Here, Baudelaire has furnished us with a centered picture that leads to the heart of a dream which we can then take over for ourselves. No doubt we shall give it certain personal features, such as peopling Thomas de Quincey's cottage with persons from our own past. In this way, we receive the benefits of this evocation without its exaggerations. Our most personal recollections can come and live here, and through some indefinable current of sympathy, Baudelaire's description has ceased to be commonplace. But it is always like that. Well-determined centers of reverie are means of communication between men who dream, as surely as well-defined concepts are means of communication between men who think. In Curiosités Esthétiques, page 331, Baudelaire also speaks of a canvas by Liville which shows a, quote, thatched cottage on the edge of a wood, quote, in winter, the sad season. Certain of the effects that Liville often got, wrote Baudelaire, seemed to me to constitute the very essence of winter happiness. A reminder of winter strengthens the happiness of inhabiting. In the reign of the imagination alone, a reminder of winter increases the house's value as a place to live in. In the reign of the imagination alone. If I were asked to make an expert evaluation of the honourism in De Quincey's cottage, as relit by Baudelaire, I should say that there lingers about it the insipid odour of opium, an atmosphere of drowsiness. But we are told nothing about the strength of the walls or the fortitude of the roof. The house puts up no struggle. It is as though Baudelaire knew of nothing, to shut himself in with but curtains. This absence of struggle is often the case of the winter houses in literature. The dialectics of the house and the universe are too simple, and snow, especially, reduces the exterior world to nothing rather too easily. It gives a single color to the entire universe which, with one word, snow, is both expressed and nullified for those who have found shelter. Here I'm going to stop and be selfish and say my own quote from something called Fruits Basket. It's not from there originally though, but the quote, it's a question about snow. What happens when snow melts? It becomes spring. It's another way, I think, of saying a shelter. In Les Déserts de l'Amour, page 104, Rimbaud himself said, "It was like a winter's night, with snow to stifle the world for certain." Why is everyone afraid of snow? It's not death. It's blankness, I think. My thoughts. In any case, outside the occupied house, the winter cosmos is a simplified cosmos. It is a non-house, in the same way that metaphysicians speak of the non-I, of a non-I. And between the house and the non-house, it is easy to establish all sorts of contradictions. Inside the house, everything may be differentiated and multiplied, like chairs, doors, windows. That's me. Back to Bachelard. The house derives reserves and refinements of intimacy from winter, while in the outside world, snow covers all tracks, blurs all roads, muffles every sound, conceals all colors. As a result of this universal whiteness, we feel a form of cosmic negation in action. The dreamer of houses knows and senses this, and because of the diminished entity of the outside world, experiences all the qualities of intimacy with increased intensity. Here is the end of section 1. I would like to say my own commentary because this person wrote a little after Bachelard. But thinking about Calvino, Italo Calvino, there's the book, If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler, ... And that feels like a follow-up to what he is saying here, in the shelter of winter. And in that book, it's so frustrating because there is no shelter between any of the different chapters in which the readers jump to, and from different places of inhabiting a mystery. But shelter can take place in the walls, the corners of a book, like with Baudelaire's image, of course. Let's do the next section.